Welcome to Bermuda Underwater Experience with Tony Stewart, who is about to take you on a wonderful journey. As a diver, Tony has soared to capture the experience of diving without a boat to catch or the gear to wash, just the beauty of underwater. 20 years of diving have given Tony a special connection with the ocean, and hopefully you enjoy his Bermuda Underwater Experience.
Bermuda is the farthest north coral reef in the Western Hemisphere. By virtue of the fact that the Gulf Stream flows across us year-round, we're bathed in warm enough water to keep most of the corals that grow in the Atlantic Ocean alive and healthy on our reef. If you were on the east coast of the United States this far north, there would not be any coral. Of the 64 corals that grow in the Atlantic Ocean, 48 of them are represented here and do quite well. Of the fish in the Atlantic and the Caribbean, we have about the same percentage as we do corals. Many of the Caribbean fish we have, the angelfish, the wrasses, the colorful tropicals that you would see in other areas. And this again is to the benefit of the Gulf Stream flowing across us. I've been diving many places around the world and seen different types of diving. Bermuda diving is excellent. People ask me when they come on the boat, seeing as how I dive so much and so often here, am I tired of it? And I have to tell them truthfully, no. When divers are underwater in the ocean for their first time, they see the waving sea fans and sea rods, and to them it looks just like plants or weeds blowing in the field. Actually, the coral is a system of tiny little animals living together in a community that build a solid structure to live in. Divers protect the coral by practicing what is known as neutral buoyancy. We make ourselves weightless underwater so that we float 3 or 4 feet above the coral, never actually coming in contact with it. This way we can passively interact with the reef and enjoy the reef for all its beauty, for picture taking, or just sightseeing. There are between 350 and 500 wrecks in these Bermuda waters, depending upon who's counting and what you count as a wreck. Bermuda was used as a signpost for sailors. When they came north far enough to find Bermuda, they knew it was time to take a right and head back for Europe. Not expecting coral reef to be surrounding the island, these ships would sometimes sail a bit too close and end up on the reef. When I dive on a wreck, it's like looking into a window of history. You see the wreck on the bottom mixed with the coral spread out and start to wonder, what was it like in the last minutes before the ship went down? Were there guys yelling, grab this line or close that hatch? Just what happened? Within 5 minutes of our dive shop is the wreck of the Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste was a Civil War blockade runner supplying guns and bacon and other supplies to the Confederate armies. She wrecked on a clear blue day just offshore when the pilot was bringing the owner and himself into shore to be let off before the ship made its run. There was only one loss of life on this wreck, and that being the cook. It's rumored he went back on board against orders to retrieve his cat from his cabin and ended up being the casualty on the wreck. Night diving is absolutely special. For photographers alone, you have a black background to every fish you take a picture of. That makes it great. The life that's awake and active at night underwater is completely different than the fish you would see during the day. The lobsters come out of their caves. The octopus come out hunting. The crabs are crawling around. The squid are swimming much closer to you than they ever would during the day. Nighttime's a special place underwater. I don't have any one fish in particular that's my favorite. On any given day, the tiniest fish or the most plain fish can do something astounding and just captivate my imagination again for the day. I never thought of fish as having a thought process before. I thought they just swam around in the water. But after having watched a pudding wife, which is a fish, pick up a sea urchin, carry it 10 feet across a sand hole to a coral wall, and then proceed to thrash it against the rocks till it broke it open and was able to eat it, I was just totally amazed to see a fish thinking. My most memorable moment diving, it's usually one not long ago, and it'll always get covered up by the next amazing thing I see. The most recent one being the largest turtle I've seen yet in Bermuda, just 3 days ago on one of our regular dive sites. It's unusual for us to see turtles along South Shore. They tend to live more in the shallower water around the west end and the north side of the island. So for us to see turtles on South Shore is a great thing, and then to see one as large as we saw the other day was great. Diving gives me a chance to go places where everyone else hasn't been. I have a sense of adventure. I have a sense of excitement when I see the new and different things down below the water that I don't see above the water. Also, there's just a simple peaceful feeling of floating nearly weightless and not being reachable by the telephone. Here's two different hogfish together, a Spanish hogfish and a hogfish. Watch the big hogfish. Now he's the color of the coral. As he swims out from the coral, it's the color of the sand. It was moon jellyfish season. There were jellyfish in the water all around, and I was shooting video of this one. When I noticed inside it, there seemed to be 20 or so baby fish. And these baby fish are swimming along inside the jellyfish, protected by the jellyfish, until they get too big and outgrow their home and have to swim down to the reef and fend for themselves. Okay, this is something out of the ordinary. It's a fire coral sea fan. It used to be a purple sea fan until the encrusting fire coral covered it up. Now it's a fire coral sea fan. I think barracuda got their bad reputation from the way they behave when they're pulled into a boat with a hook in their mouth. Barracuda like to eat small live fish, and we don't fit that description. So they're really not interested in us. But the way they stare and those big teeth do give you an eerie feeling. This is the wreck of the Constellation. She was carrying all kinds of supplies. She was carrying concrete bags on her deck. When the ship went down, the concrete set up solid, and a lot of people call this now the petrified pillow wreck. In addition to carrying concrete, the Constellation was carrying supplies for the war effort, and this was a case of cough syrup. You can see the bottles have all encrusted together into a big cube. These flat squares are pool table slates. If you look at the corners, you can see where they're cut out for the corner pockets. I've always hoped to find pool balls, but no such luck. Bermuda's reef is still collecting wrecks, as this sailor found out the hard way. She was trying to sail solo around the world and made an unscheduled stop on our reef. Okay, this is a flamingo tongue. It's a type of snail. It's living off the coral. It comes in two patterns, a leopard spot, and this pattern, the fingerprint, which is a lot less common. This is a rare fish we don't often see. For lack of a better name, we called it a leaf fish. And it was autumn, and it was laying on the surface with the other dead leaves, looking like a leaf. We'd point it out to people and say, look at the leaf fish, and they'd look at us like we were nuts. Then we'd bring them over closer, and as soon as you got right on top of it, you noticed it was a fish. It was laying there on the surface, waiting for something to swim nearby, and then it'd suddenly come to life and eat whatever it was that had come close to it. Me and Sven were walking up to it to get a closer look. Sven walked up on one side of it, and I walked up on the other, and that fish suddenly came to life, jumped almost over me, stuck to my shoulder, and then fell off and swam away. 3 minutes later, it was floating on the surface like a dead leaf again. It's got to be one of the strangest fish I've ever seen, and we haven't seen it since. These are some pretty cool little lobsters. They're hurrying away for a reason. Coming down from above is an eel looking for dinner. Unfortunately, my batteries were going dead, so I never saw how this story ended. Okay, this is my only turtle video. It's not that turtles are rare in Bermuda, it's just me having my video camera and a turtle at the same time is kind of rare. We try to tell people not to stand on or touch the coral, but this is this guy's living room, so we let him get away with it. When it's protecting its territory, the Sergeant Major has no fear. He'll attack us and we must outweigh him by about 800 times. What he's doing is trying to protect this smear of purplish eggs behind him. They'll peck at our ears and pull at our hair and do anything to chase us off. Most anemones have a cleaner shrimp living with them. The cleaner shrimp cleans the anemone and also lives off bits and pieces of food that the anemone doesn't use. I didn't start seeing the shrimp till I got home and edited my video, and there they are because they're crystal clear bodies with just a little bit of color. Jolthead porgies like to eat sand dollars. Now a live sand dollar, if you hold it in your hands, will turn your skin green. I've seen joltheads swimming around with green around their mouths like they'd been chewing tobacco. Okay, this is one of our favorite dive sites called Southwest Breaker. One spring we noticed tiny little fish, just eyeballs with tails, but clouds of them. Over a period of a couple months, they grew bigger and bigger, and then suddenly they were ripe for the picking because every fish in the ocean came in to have a free lunch. There were jacks swimming in, eating, snappers swimming in, eating. Even the trumpet fish were in having their lunch. Trumpet fish usually hunt and eat alone and hide behind sea rods. You can see this group gets confused and they think each other are something to hide behind and end up as a knot of 9 trumpet fish.